Hello everyone and welcome back to the comments section, where in today's video we're going to do a deep dive on how you guys would fix Final Fantasy XIV and really what you have to say about it. There's a lot of comments here that we're going to go in. Feel free to look through the chapter markers, jump to any particular section. I'm sure this is going to be a fun video. I really enjoy making these. You guys have really been responding to all the comment section videos recently, saying that you're really enjoying them, so thank you all so much. So hello everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Brian if you happen to be new around here, and for returning subscribers to yes, I did quit Final Fantasy XIV, but yeah, like I said, we'll continue talking about it as the community's talking about it. And the beautiful thing is, I don't think this is anything about the drama. This is going to be fun. This is about how we can fix Final Fantasy XIV, what you guys want to see happen with this game. But as with all comment sections on YouTube, there's going to be some positive, some negative. I'll let you guys decide who wins comment of the video. You can sound off below once we're done going through all of them. Pepecovfefe, he writes, or they write, Final Fantasy XIV is a solo online RPG. John follows this up with saying, invest in Final Fantasy XI, please. And Chris is going to finish this one with, as a dad, I don't have hours and hours every week to play, and 2023 is packed with great games. Facts, Chris. Absolute facts right there. Now, I log in and I see daily roulettes and tomestones. It's hard to get past that content when leveling. Personally, I would love to see gear changes. Happy mentioned something, and I thought as well, adapting materia and moving it into the job stone. Then each job would be separate off of the shared gear. Now, I don't expect any major changes with gear though. I think that they will continue to focus on the UI and then the upscaling for 7.0. If they touch a gear 2.0, it may be late 7.0 to test or 8.0. The HD assets and other features may take a lot of resources, so I just don't see how long they can wait. Gearing is so stale. All right, let's explore this, right? Is Final Fantasy XIV a solo RPG? I don't think it's a solo online RPG. I mean, to a degree. There is a lot of that. There's more of that coming. I am all for scalability of the play. If you want to play solo, okay, I'm not going to judge you. I get it. It works. MMOs really exploded as soon as we dropped the M. So SMO, solo multiplayer online, or massively solo MSOs or something like that. But what my problem is, and what I would love to see them address, is flexibility. I think Final Fantasy XIV works great in a 1-player, a 4-player, 5 I guess now with PvP, and 8, you know, kind of sets. But going to your quest line, especially as a solo RPG, having to drop party is kind of, I don't know. It feels like that system feels dated. Like I get it at the time, but now just let people all go into the fight. Like if you're playing with your friend just joined, right? You've been on them all 10 years. Got to play this game with me, man. Got to play. Finally, Endwalker 7.0 FanFest announcements. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, I'm going to join you. All right, great. Get to work. Message me when you're finally at cap. It'd be so great to level sync you down to the player, play with your friend, jump into the quests, do all whatever together outside of the instance content. I think that's the big issue. Like, let people play together. Same thing with the trusts. Let that be a scalable, flexible system. If my daughter comes to me and says, hey dad, I want to play Final Fantasy XIV with you, I'm back. That's what I said in my video. The answer is yes, let's play Final Fantasy XIV. My hope is by that time that she and I can go do a trust dungeon together. And I think that'd be great. Now, I would love for them to invest in Final Fantasy XI. Every time Yoshi-P talks about that project or praises the old MMOs and forgets to put Final Fantasy XI on that list, I get a little bitter. I'm not going to lie. I can say that I've had better days. I don't know about you guys. And I was really hoping for some announcements of the 20th. And I knew they set me up to fail. Like the words they used, you know. Oh, if I didn't say so in the intro, yeah, get a coffee, get a tea. enjoy listening to this kind of as a podcast. I don't know, hopefully, however you guys want to consume this, these videos. Now, Chris, like me and him, like absolutely dad to dad. This year alone is packed with great games. I just playing some Diablo 4 this past weekend. I'm looking forward to Wayfinder. I'm under NDA, so that's all I guess I can say about it. I'm looking forward to Throne and Liberty to figure out what the hell that game's all about. Really excited about Blue Protocol. Really excited about New World. Still love that freaking game. You don't have to agree with me. It really makes me think of Final Fantasy XI. It does. I get so many great 11 vibes from that one. But I feel like Destiny just launched Lightfall, and it's everything but the story is good, if that's a fair review. Oh man, this year is insane, and they keep coming out with more. Street Fighter 6 is going to be on here soon, and I know I don't talk about fighting games on here, but man, that takes me back. It's probably like the 30th or 40th Street Fighter actually, but yeah, we'll go with a 6. So I want them to do something. Now, to Chris's point, like, they're doing a lot. I think one of the things that resonates true more than anything else is Yoshi-P has talked about wishing he had the WoW budget, wishing he had probably the people. I think it comes down to that. One of the things that I see a lot of people, and will go in the comments, talk about balance, and they're worried about it. And I get it. It would require more resources, and you would want to be able to push out changes quicker, especially if something was just horribly broken. And we've seen that happen. So it happens without any perks or any changes to the gear. But I want to vote for change now, and that's just where I'm at. I'm an outsider in this case, right? But this isn't all just about me. This is what you guys have to say. KnightWoof follows this up, says, I like the idea of perks being materia based. If it was tied to here, I feel that would ruin the relaxing feel of the game. My personal gripe, tied to gear. My personal gripe with Destiny is that I don't want to dedicate the time to get the god rolls or get the best highest light level. It would be awesome if they could come up with a method to add perks to gear that gives you unique bonuses. Personally, I can't see a way for that to fit thematically with the way their system is now, but hopefully that they have a vision for it. Now you bring up, an excellent counterpoint, right? There is definitely more of an investment when it comes to perks, and being able to take the pieces of gear with the perks, or in the case I think with 14, materia makes the absolute most sense, because you can extract that. You could have a whole system around it. There could be something else there. And you could then, have different kind of gear sets along those lines. I think essentially it's just trying to address the player who wants to play, but just doesn't have anything to chase, right? And again, like I said in my video, this challenges and kind of goes against the design philosophy that is working. People enjoy it up to a point. And for those of you who are still enjoying Final Fantasy XIV right now, tip of the hat. I hope that continues. But there's also people who aren't, and it's, I'm definitely one in that camp, and I'd love to see the game take some risks. I got mocked for that. Final Fantasy takes risks. Bull, guys. It does not, man. Maybe it does to you, but I think to some of us it doesn't. Anyway, Seraph says, hit that like button. Dislike button is definitely broken. And thank you, Seraph. Great reminder, if you guys enjoy these videos, it's a great way of helping other people find them in the algorithm. If you want. Again, I cover a lot of different games here. Not just Final Fantasy XIV. I don't cover that like in terms of news guides anymore and stuff like that. But if you guys are interested in my thoughts about it, I'm sure I will be sharing with you guys the information that comes out of FanFest, as I also would love to see bigger changes down the road. Abdy Rodriguez says, you had me till you brought up people wanting to craft gear for dungeons. Crafting gear sets updates can just be behind raid gear and above all dungeon gear. Don't know why you brought up that point. I think that to be like a true, like, rooted MMO, coming back from Final Fantasy XI roots, guys, that crafting has to be important. And I've seen people say crafting is important when the raid drops, crafted gear is bought up, Crafting is not important if it's only valued at 1 week out of every 8 months. That's not important. The only ones that are the food and the raid pots. Like if you look at a player driven economy, Those are the two things where if you were a player and you're wanting to make money, that's what I would direct you towards, because the demand is high. Other one is glamour, right? But that doesn't have that real visceral demand. That doesn't require materials going to be gathered out all over the place, right? Like the game is streamlined for people with busy lives. And it had to do that to survive. So I understand why it is the way it is. But crafting, I think, is important. And I think that's where perks allow crafters to be able to compete with the hardest content. I know a lot of people, they want to protect that hardest content because for them, it feels like an achievement. That as long as they don't look at all the people buying their clears, and as long, as they don't realize it's just a function of time and it's designed to be beaten, as long as these things remain to be true, like they can have that illusion, and then they get that piece of gear, and then they glamour it with something else. Yes, you don't need the best gear in the game for some of the content. But the stat shouldn't be the trophy. The trophy should be the trophy. And I think we have a clear connection with power being the trophy because that's all they have right now. And I think there's many games that do it really well. And they highlight that and they give things people to chase. And it doesn't mean you have to chase it, but it gives you another optional chase if you want to. And then you get a concept of not just you have the best in slot. A lot of people are like best in slot. Everybody's just going to come up with that. But there's also a best in slot for me category that is underrepresented in a lot of games. A lot of people, you don't have to respect it, but it exists. You also have best in synergy, not just slot, synergy. Could you have a perk or something like that actually makes your team better? And so, or resonates with something that another team has. Synergy brings it all together. Anyway, Benny Jammin says, everybody is kind of frustrated with 14 right now. This is a major eye roll for me. I'm loving 14. Always have since day one. Not sure what circles you run in or content you do, but that's not a fair thing to say. Earn those likes however you deem necessary, though. Fair point, everyone. If I said everyone, everybody, that is obviously, it's like I get on my kids when they say always and never. I'm never getting to watch TV. Bullshit. No. Those always statements drive me nuts. So fair enough. But the circles that I run with are literally what is showing up on my feed. So that's the content creators, that's the non-content creators. Lots of salt, lots of frustration, a lot of gross drama, if I'm not going to say so myself. We don't need to get into it too much, but a lot of concerning things that as a parent, like back to the fun, my kids wanting to play, like kind of have to be muting some chats, things like that. But we don't need to explore that here. But it's easy for a lot of people to kind of live in those echo chambers. And so in this case, my echo chamber is filled with people who like Final Fantasy XIV and are frustrated with it, right? Ben's is with clearly not getting any of that additional information. And it's great. Always have since day one. Awesome. I hope that continues for you. But at some point, I have to say, do you play it every day? Like, that's just kind of where it comes down to. And I do think there's a problem with the content creation side of playing the game every day. Because no matter what, you see it happen with everybody. It's a roller coaster, right? And when it's down, it's down. And if you're reliant on this revenue, which thankfully I am not, I think you see a lot of people do things just to get that attention. And I like that people accuse me of that, and it's cute and makes me laugh. So we'll just go with it. All right. Arturius says perks would make balancing battle jobs pretty difficult. It would. It definitely would. That's why I think if you're going to, the 14 content siloed, right? You can go do this, you can go do that, and there's not a real connection. I think that's a big weakness of the system. That's why I think economy and asynchronous multiplayer would really help this game. Would it take a lot of effort and work? Yes. Are they going to do it? No, they're not going to do it. So it's just kind of that, me wishing on a candlestick here. But yeah, I think that's one of the things you'd have to have enough people. And because it's not just about them running the numbers behind the scenes and stuff like that. It's about finding these things that players are able to exploit and take advantage of and being able to address them in unique and interesting ways quick enough. And they attempted that with PvP last year, and it was a disaster. It was fun as hell, but it was a disaster. And that's the point. Even if it's not balanced, it can be fun as all get out. Sometimes in the pursuit of balance, it gets homogenized and it gets boring. And that's what we've seen. And I'm not the only one who's saying it. So I would love to see something, some splash, some excitement, some, nothing RNG. RNG, I don't think it helps out at all. But, I don't know. Like, that's obviously, there's all kinds of ways to go about it. nathanielpizano says, I agree. I like WoW as a crafter. You got an extra slot for things like that. Why does this game not offer the benefit for being a crafter? I understand since that we can have all the classes and jobs, it lowers that. But I like that WoW had an extra gym slot, or I got an extra inscription or whatever. The downside about this comment that brings up WoW, there's, for the fact is like, I think there's a mass majority of 14 players that are former WoW players. And it's always kind of funny because I hear them complain the most about, oh, we don't want those WoW players over here. Oh, where'd you come from? I've been here the whole time. Saying that kind of interaction a lot. And that's just something that's interesting. I think Final Fantasy XIV, though, has, because it copied WoW, that's what the words of Yoshi-P, it is a WoW clone. It is a Final Fantasy version of what, WoW is, and it's done in a much cheaper budget and able to operate in that way. So, there's always hope, right? But yeah, I think I would love to see, again, I'm pro crafter. I'm not a big crafter myself, but I'm pro these systems and economies and building that up, because one of the things that I find that actually makes content valuable outside of the devs incentivizing it is when players incentivize it. If somebody's not doing something, if a lot of players aren't doing X piece of content, if there was a drop from X piece of content that was always in demand, then you as a player could go do that and just make all kinds of money, and then use that money to kind of, fill in what gaps that you needed. Not just the every other, 1 week out of every 8 months. But actually having some significant progress. Ste Bro says, I've been playing this game since just after AR release every single day. Perks are a terrible addition in everyday combat content. Perks would just be mandatory gear sets. There's nothing optional about perks. The best always wins. I agree that some challenge mode content would be an interesting way to give life to the dungeons. Time attack modes, enemy waves, all heal, clear, whatever. With some cool mounts and glamour rewards for completion steps. I have had absolutely no frustration with 14 at all, though. I dive into the content I can. Sometimes I wish that there was more. Where's my blue updates? But like you said, it's just a dev team size limitation issue. And so, yeah, I mean, at its core, I don't agree with the idea that there's always the best always wins. I think that applies to a section of the community that's probably pretty vocal. But I think for the vast majority of things and content, you're always just kind of interested. You want to experiment. One of the things I loved about 11 was challenging the meta and finding new ways that worked better than the meta, and then the meta shift, then challenging it again. Like, that is a part of the whole balance conversation. That is a whole part of this. I think it is a dev team, a limitation size issue. And so that's one of the reasons, unless they continue to grow that team, I think it's something that's going to be a challenge for a long time. And that sucks. Minakata, I'm sorry, I'm butchering the name. Final Fantasy XIV gear and combat is just boring, sterile, and bland, ever created. And the game is designed to play 1 to 4 hours a week. Cap your stones, max your few bosses, bye. And with the time gate on tomes, you can't even gear up that many jobs. That's actually a real issue for me too. Ain't fun to buy crafted gear and done. And with how they added NPCs to play with you in lackluster patches, this will become another visual novel that sometimes is more engaging. Now, like, this comment really hits hard. Like, I'm not pulling punches. They're stating a lot of things that I've heard echoed among many people. And this comes down to the history, philosophy, theology of whatever makes an MMO. Final Fantasy XIV is designed to be picked up and put down. And it sucks when you don't want to put it down. It does. I was talking with Chili, Moogle Go Around Radio. I think about in Stormblood. Like, I want to play the game, but what do I do? There's nothing And I think, hell, just adding in like aptitude levels after level 90, you know, merit, like not having to give me merit points, but just unlocking like a treasure chest, a little reward. Thank you for continuing to play. There's a lot of things they can do, and we just have to wait to see what they do. I do think the game will continue to lean more and more into single player, but trying to really work in that accessibility, bringing in people, and that's not a bad thing. That's a smart business move. But I do hope to see blue updates. I do hope to see, I don't know, a new MMO from them at some point. There's a lot of moving pieces in the industry, so nothing is guaranteed. But I do hope that Yoshi-P gets the opportunity to really make an MMO from the ground up. I'm really excited to see what he does with 16, and I think that's going to be something interesting to see what happens building up that world. I think the only downside about 16 is once it's done, it's kind of done. You know, that's the same thing a lot of people feel with 14. Once you beat the story, I guess you just wait for them to add more, you know? And I think 16 is going to be an interesting case study in terms of Square Enix's 2023. Now, the last comment we got, TheNeoVariable says, I think I've said this in another video, like this, but eventually with all the jobs there introduction, they're just going to have to give new ways to get gear. While personally, I would love to have more gear set bonuses, they would probably have to update the equipment system so that wouldn't be a hassle to get all of this in the first place. Expanding the glamour dresser and armoire. Still, I'd love to get in touch with one of Final Fantasy XI and have interesting effects on equipment. It's something that's very beautiful about 11. Like 11 is such a beautiful game that I would love to see. And we'd have to make some concessions. We'd have to, like when it comes to like 11, if they're going to remaster it, remake it, there'd have to be some concessions because there were some things that 11 did that just doesn't work in terms of the volume and the scale. One thing I think would have to be a shared subscription with 14. Okay. I would say a shared friend list so that people can see what game you're playing. And then ultimately, like, I think some quality of life features in the game itself. I honestly do. I think that people have been trained in a language, and the language is World of Warcraft, and that has a thing. Doesn't mean you need Final Fantasy XI to become quest hubs. People, you know, oh yeah, quests don't give experience. What? I honestly don't think quests should give experience. But that's just me. Sipping my tea here. Tea just because it feels good on, you know, when I do these longer videos. Yeah, so I want that. Like, that would be one of the key aspects that I think would fundamentally be received poorly, but then ultimately the exciting things that you could do could be a lot of fun. I think you would protect the raid. You would say, hey, the raid, all this doesn't matter here, but then in the other content, you could end up doing some interesting things. But perks isn't the one thing, right? Because if you added those in, you need to add in content to kind of take advantage of that, to push the limits, to kind of push back on the player. Because otherwise, like people said, like if it's just all about DPS, that's just going to be what people are going to look at. But imagine if there was a perk that prevented a certain boss mechanic from affecting you in a negative way. And I don't know, Criterion, if that actually gave out decent rewards. From what I hear, people are frustrated by that fact. I think that would be an interesting thing, because then you have to make choices. And who knows? I believe in choice. People say it's an illusion, and to a degree they're right, but to a degree, I just see people then advocate for this race to homogenization and then complain about that homogenization. And that's unfortunate too. That's not winning in my book. I think the answer is to always have that struggle, to have that friction, but to be able to respond to it knowledgeably, empathetically, and timely. And that's just going to be how it goes. So those are the comments that we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me for the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got something good out of it. I'm generally curious about your thoughts, especially any of these questions. Don't forget to sound off in the comments who won, who takes the cake, what was the best comment that was left. And yeah, we're going to wrap up today, guys. Wishing you all the very best. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully we'll see you next time. But until then, take care.